Hello and welcome to Insight, everyone. I'm Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Thank you for joining us.
My first conversation on this episode will be on manning ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. We will be looking at the implications of some of these areas, with the presence of non-state actors. I will be speaking with a major key player in the internal and national security sector of the nation, and we will be talking about the imperatives for manning some of these ungoverned spaces. And then I'll move the conversation onward or forward, and we will be looking at the issue of ritual killings in Nigeria. We're being inundated these days with reports of recorded incidents across communities in the country. What are the factors driving this ugly, nefarious trend, and then what can we do to curtail or perhaps just nip them in the bud? Elizabeth?
We will also be talking about widowhood, how to navigate this phase of life and build resilience as people journey through this in life.
Very well then. Let's kickstart the conversation.
Whatever the issues are,
the National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
however complex or intricate.
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
Be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern.
Our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of grievance in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
And gaining understanding is also getting insight.
To begin, I would like to ask a question. Why do we think we still have places that seem like they provide sanctuaries, I beg your pardon, for bandits and kidnappers, while also fueling illicit economies? Well, I agree that the Nigerian military has been responding to many of these threats, of course, the police and other security agencies as well. However, I would like to say that the lingering challenge of ungoverned spaces in Nigeria, it remains a grave danger and threat to our national security and development. But let me see what my first guest thinks about all of this. He is a significant player in the rather complex arena of internal and national security. He is the Commander General, Nigeria Forest Security Service, NFSS, Dr. Joshua Osatimehin. Welcome to Inside Doc. Good to have you join us here on the program.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning once again.
Great. Before we jump into the core matter of ungoverned spaces, CG, let me say, I have followed the activities of the NFSS,
yes.
With keen interest for some time now, whether it's your partnership with the traditional institutions. I noticed how you've moved up and how you've been up and about. You've gone to several communities, as a matter of fact. Of course, there's also your advocacy visits, whether it's to security agencies, or sister agencies, security agencies like yours. I also monitored your 4th annual National Security Summit, and plus there was something else I saw. I think there was a submission on the National Intelligence Trust Fund before the House of Representative Committee on National Security and Intelligence. I must say you have been very busy. But CJ, like me, many Nigerians are worried over the duplicity of operations and functions among our security outfits. So, for instance, I'd like for you to tell me, how exactly does the NFSS mandate fundamentally differ from that of the traditional forest rangers, which focus, of course, on conservation? Is your agency, the NFSS, tasked or responsible only with force projection against criminals and terrorists in forest areas only or alone?
Yeah, thank you, the presenter. I think the issue of duplicity of function or conflicts
of operation
does not arise here. It's all about complementary role and supplementary role that can furthermore strengthening the national security. Like you rightly identified, the military, they are one of the best in the world, and the police. When they go to international conferences, they won award and they stand out as one of the best in their field. But coming back to national security, there is something that is lacking. That is the issue of gathering local intelligence.
True.
Within the forested region. The military, they are for the sovereignty of the country, while the police, they are for internal security. The civil defense, they protect critical infrastructures.
Yes.
The NDLA illicit drug movement, and contraband goods for the custom. Immigration is to regulate who comes in or who comes out across our border. None of these agencies...
The traditional forest rangers.
Yeah, the forest guard.
Yes.
They are for protection of wildlife and preservation of ecosystem.
True.
There's no agency, as I'm talking to you, sir, in Nigeria today, that mounting security presence within the forested area. And let's look at this analysis post Gaddafi death and the implication on the West African and sub-Saharan region. You agree with me that Gaddafi spent 42 years as a president of Libya.
True.
And on record, the armory in Libya, according to analysts, is the biggest armory in the modern day security analysis across the world. He have gathered a lot of weapons from the Israel, from America, from Russia when he was alive. And he gathered all the military forces from 5 major countries: Algeria, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Chad, Niger. Immediately, Gaddafi died. What happened to all these criminals? These fighters. They decided to loot the armory. And that is why today we have a lot of proliferation of small arms and light weapons. And when Gaddafi died, 2011, there was a revolution in Mali as a result of the military, the fighters, the Tuareg army that worked with the Gaddafi. So these are the things that's already make this our forest to be a complex fight. And this fight cannot be won alone by one particular agency. We need a concerted effort from every stakeholders. Everybody need to coagulate their effort to make sure that we gather enough local intelligence within the forested area. And we, as a forester, we know the interconnectivity of forest linkages in Nigeria. You agree with me that Sambisa have been the major problem to the northeast and to the northwest.
True.
Sambisa alone is as big as 2 times of Belgium as a country. 6 million hectares is not a small size area. So there's no way Nigeria can build fence or to cover the entry. The only thing we can do is to map out the exit and the entries of all these criminals through Sambisa forest. Sambisa borders 6 states in the country. In the northwest, it borders 2 states, that is Jigawa and Kano. We are planning to mount our command structure between the 2 states to prevent the entry of criminals from Sambisa into the country. And in the northwest, it borders about 4 states. That is Bauchi, Gombe, Yobe, and Borno. So we are planning to mount in between Gombe and Bauchi our commerce sector will be there.
Okay.
In between Yobe and Bonu, our sector command will be there. This will enough for enable us to prevent the infiltration of all these criminals into the country. So you agree with me with this analysis, there's no rivalry
Agency.
or conflict of interest.
Okay.
It's all about supplementary and complementary role
I see
of
that.
all the agencies.
I see that. And I particularly like what you've done with, in creating a contest for your operation. I like how you've brought in the, what I would describe as some of the external factors that might be responsible for what we see play out in ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. There are still internal factors driving the situation, as it were. These are things I would like to say are intrinsic to us here in Nigeria. So there's absolutely no doubt that we've had a precarious security situation in our hands, nationally for more than a decade now, and a lot of these are attributed to the existence of these ungoverned spaces in almost all geopolitical zones of our country, of the country. You've mentioned Sambisa. You've laid out how it's, adjoined 6 states. That's in the northeast. I mean, there are creeks in the south-south. There are mangroves in the southeast,
Yes.
And the southwest.
Yes.
And similar unmanned areas in other parts of the country. And, I particularly like how you've laid it. It shows the quality. I mean, you are a PhD, so I'm sure you understand the theory of states' fragility and how it applies to the
Exactly.
Nigerian situation in terms of lack of capacity and authority on the side of the state over its territory. So my question to you, CG, is where do you stand on the issue of restructuring and reformation of the Nigerian security architecture in order for us, the Nigerian states now, to effectively maintain, our presence across all of our territory? Or do you believe in a solution that is multi-pronged, perhaps long-term, and maybe context-specific?
Yeah, thank you. I believe in all those, all the ideas, I go for all of them.
Do you go for state police as well, if you're going for all of them?
No, you didn't mention state police.
No, I know.
Okay. Now, if we are talking about state policing,
even though that's not what we're talking about,
yes,
yeah,
but let's talk about the burning issues. Our problem in Nigeria is not about state policing. It's all about the forested area. Now you said that we only analyze the Sambisa forest. Nigeria, as today, we have 36 states, including the FCT.
True.
17 out of these states border international community. I only mention
as an example.
Yes, as an example. When you go to Northwest, Northwest has 7 states. 5 out of these 7 states border international community. Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, and Jigawa, they all border international community. That's why today you see that Northwest and the Northeast, they are the epicenter of crisis. So if we can identify our problem, Nigeria's security has gone beyond managing it with just a department of within an agency. You need a full-fledged agency.
So in terms of restructuring, in terms, are you satisfied with how the security architecture is right now? Would you say, okay, NFSS, this is your mandate, other security sister agencies do not encroach into these operations? I mean, how would you want to...
The issue is all about synergy.
Okay.
When we synergize, we get more energy. With more synergy, with more, stronger energy. So I believe when we gather intelligent report, we send it to appropriate quarters.
Okay.
And there should be full implementation of this intelligent report.
Okay.
Now, our mandate within the forest is when we see anybody carrying illegal firearms, they should be reported to the military and the police. Anybody carrying fake document, they should be taken to immigration. Anybody with illicit drugs, they should be arrested and taken to immigration. It's all about all effort must be coagulated together to make sure
Coagulated.
that we nip this thing in the bud and we find a lasting solution.
You know, you've talked about intelligence gathering, and I just noted it down here while you raised it. I think it's a germane issue. So I'd like for us to double down. You know, in talking about intelligence gathering, I'd like for us to double down on the need for effective security surveillance, you know, especially in rural areas, you know, of our country. And I assume that that might be the underlying principle, or maybe that's the anchor for what the NFSS is doing with traditional institutions across Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I mean, but then there's the profound issue of distrust, you know, of distrust between, you know, for security agencies, especially among rural dwellers, you know, and that is because perhaps because of incidents of past or previous abuses, you know, incidents of reports and accusations of corruption. You know, how is the NFSS removing itself from this quagmire? You know, how are you able, in building this intelligence network that you've talked about, how are you able to gain trust and build, you know, this intelligence network that relies on community trust and that you get willingly and not by coercion?
Yeah, we have been doing it even before the asset or the bill is being passed into law. We have already built our intelligence department by collaborating with the constituted agency, like the military, the police, and the DSS. DSS have trained us on different intelligence topic, actionable intelligence and actionable intelligence sharing.
Okay.
So we have been to different courses on that, and as of today, why we have edge in terms of guarding local intelligence over any conventional or constituted authority is because we are the locals, we are the last cadres, we are the last responder. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are the first line of defense to the community because we live there, we were born there, and we know how our people gather. For example, now, I'm from Edo State. If you come into my territory today, definitely I should be able to identify this person, this woman, this man is not from here. So anybody that comes today in their number, like what happened in Benue, there is already alarm before 4 o'clock that very night, the one that took place last week. That people, they saw people from different areas on unfamiliar faces, and they alerted the authority. So we are the one that was, okay, this person, what is he doing? Is not from here. So this makes us more effective. And NFSS operation is different from normal conventional policing. Not that you are from Kogi, you go and work in Benikebe. No, you work where you are born. You work where you reside. And before you can be enlisted into our database, definitely the king of your community must sign, the DPO will sign, DSS will sign. This prevents us from recruiting criminals. And we, as a security force, oath of secrecy must be there. So you cannot just come and abandonate under our organization to perpetrate any evil. No.
Or abuse.
Or abuse the system. So you must work where you reside, where you are born. So when you are born in Enugu, you must work in Enugu because you should be able to tell us the interconnectivity of forest leakages in Enugu State. I should be able to tell you interconnectivity of forest leakages in Oyo State. As today, Nigeria has 1,129 forest reserve, 29 forest game, and 17 national park. All these things are located within the forested area. So we have identified all these loopholes, all these leakages, the exit and the entry. Like, for example, the Benue.
Yes.
Benue State.
Since you raised it.
Yes.
So
Benue is one of the states within the North Central that have their connection or their border within into the external community. In the North Central, we have 7 states, including the FCT. Benue, Kwara, and Kwara, Kebbi, and Niger, they all border international community. So where do we see? And also, Benue also border Taraba, he border Adamawa, and these people also border international community. You can now see the loopholes. So it's for us to be commissioned and identify all these leakages, the exit, the entry post, and mount out our sector command. Work with the military and the police. That is why I say,
how many sector commands do you have so far, currently, at present?
Sir?
How many sector commands do you have at present across the Federation?
We have all our sector command in all the 36 states of the country. And we cover all the...
All operational?
Yes, all the 774 local government across the country. This is a journey that started 2016. That is 9 years. 9 years is not 9 hours.
True.
So we have collaborated with other constituted and permanent bodies, like the police. We have been to Uwanene Police Training School, yes, in Benue. We have been to Police College, Ojiriva. We have been to Nekede in Imo State. We have been to North River State, Ikperu, Kaduna, Bauchi, Borno, Shalawa, in Kano. About police has 15 training schools. We have been trained in about 13 out of them. And they have 3 colleges. We have been to all these colleges for training. They have 1 training institution. It's also, civil defense have 3 colleges, 1 in Abuja, 1 in Abuja, Soka, and 1 in Castina. We have been to all these 3 colleges on capacity enhancement, on farmer elder clashes, the roles of Nigeria forest security in the mediation process. Even the so-called forest guard, through the Conservator General, we were trained by their agency last year in Moshood Abiola Stadium. Because the Conservator General told us that out of 17 national parks, it's only 3 that are accessible. The remaining 14 are being taken over by the bandit. So but we know the connectivity of all this operation. And God really help us. We have people that are traditionalists, that have the natural efficacy, that know how to nip this criminal in the bud. So it's just for us to be well incorporated, harmonized, to work with the military and the police.
Well incorporated and harmonized. I will talk about that down the line, in fact, but I want to take you on something that I consider quite germane. You know, in listening to your analysis, I mean, I get a sense that, you know, a lot emanates from these forested areas. And we know that these ungoverned spaces, that they thrive on, you know, on illicit economies. I mean, considering all of the criminal activities that take place there. So I'm talking about things like kidnapping. I'm talking about things like banditry, you know, illegal mining, you know, trafficking. Yet, you and I know that these activities, that they depend critically on networks extending deep into governed spaces, whether it is the ransom payment laundered through urban banks in the city, whether it is the stolen minerals, you know, sold in formal markets, the traffic goods consumed, you know, in cities, and even the political patronage that, you know, some of these criminals get, you know, that provide cover for some of their illicit, illegal activities. How then can your agency, the NFSS, you know, combat forest-based crime when its financial lifelines and command structures often originate from the cities within seemingly governed areas, and these activities are protected even within the areas under the full state, you know, state authority?
Yeah, I think I've said it now, that it's all about synergy. When you synergize, you get more energy. Yeah, the ransom payment, the bank are located within the town. And how did they get the money, withdraw, and all this? It's all about we collaborating with the necessary agency of government. in terms of security.
But how is that collaboration coming? Because if you mentioned Benue earlier, there was a signal hours before the incident took place. Your men, maybe not your men, but somebody already noticed that, look, something is coming, something bad, something negative, and then you put up the flag. And yet, it still happened.
Yeah,
See, these things happen every time.
Yeah, that is why I'm saying synergy. Synergizing with relevant agencies like the DSS. They are the one that is mandated, in terms of gathering intelligence within the community. Why the NIA, DIA, they gather military intelligence within and outside the country. So we are just coming on board. The bill was just passed, and we're awaiting Mr. President official regularization. As soon as we are being regularized, our formation base will be within the forested area. Okay. So we can now have the connectivity to other constituted authority like DSS, even and the military, because there will be area connection to the Air Force to do geomapping and geolocation of all these criminals in their hideout. So we can't do that.
Until you're fully incorporated, until you fully take off,
yes,
we cannot see this
platform. We have been working.
Okay.
But there are some estates in which, now, we are volunteers. No government admirations, no logistics support, except for some states, like the governor of Bauchi State. The governor of Bauchi State have been paying our 800 members for the past 6 years. The governor Solum of Borno has also been paying over 1,000 of our members. And Governor Kogi State just commissioned 1,050 of our members every month. So out of 36 states now, at least about 9 states have started responding, helping us on the 40,000, 50,000 every month for our members. You know, by the time federal government takes over from them and we are properly structured and harmonized, I think there will be more effectiveness in our operation and in collaboration with the constituted authority.
True. And you talked about the uniqueness of your agency. I mean, being at the grassroots and the edge you have, especially in intelligence gathering and synergizing with the communities, local communities, in raising these intelligence, and passing it on to other relevant agencies. Clearly you play your part. I mean, well, in form of a question now, do you feel like you play your part even now, even though, yes, you're yet to fully be incorporated and harmonized into the national structure, whether the federal government takes over your salaries, for instance, and emoluments and all of that, and then that gingers your officers. But until that happens, do you feel encouraged by some of what you see, by some of the accomplishments that your agency has carried out? Do you feel confident that, look, this task that we have on our hands right now, the task of creating stability in ungoverned spaces, these critical spaces that we'll consider ungoverned, fueling illegal and illicit economies, do you feel confident that the NFSS can carry out its mandate, in spite of everything happening right now and where you are right now?
Yeah, we have the confidence that we are up to the task. Number one, we have the structures, we have the numbers, and we have been well trained over the years by the issue of restructuring, either with government, with the consultant agency. It's just a matter of time. Let me tell you, sir.
Okay.
I want to our government, they are on top of this situation. The military, the police, they are on top of it. It's only that they say the Rome you see was not built in a day. The issue of, in my first approach, I said Nigeria need to consider post-Gaddafi debt. And that is what is affecting all the Sahel and the West African countries today. It's not only Nigeria, but it is we that we need to be more proactive in our approach by forming an organization that will combat criminality within the forest. When you know that all the criminality today is only 20 or 10% that happen within the township. The remaining 90 or 80 happen within the forest. So this forest must be well protected by security force, and that is why we come into limelight.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, this is a good place to draw the curtain on our conversation for now, because we will be monitoring, of course. I mean, like I said at the beginning, at the top of this program, of our discussion, that I've monitored your activities with keen interest. Of course, I am still going to, look at how things play out in the weeks to come, the months to come, and hopefully we'll see how much impact NFSS, does or has had or has, in arresting the rather ugly trend, in these ungoverned spaces. I'd like to thank you so much, Commander General, Nigeria Forest Security Service, Dr. Joshua Osatime. Thank you so much for coming on our program, for coming on Insight. It's been a pleasure having you here. Your insight on this matter has been rather profound. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.